This is my intro music. Welcome to the video. I hope you like it lots, so don't forget to subscribe and click the thumbs up button. Now let's react.
Hey, hi, hello there. Welcome to Amberlynn crashing out hard and me, I don't know, trying to do something with it. I have been trying to figure out exactly what to do with this because a lot happened in a short period of time because we moved from new accusations about Rarity, her and Tommy finally breaking up, Tommy going to Snowflake. That was fun. Well, I guess actually we went from Tommy going to Snowflake, new accusations about Rarity, finally finding out that the two of them have broken up, which I have theories about, by the way. And then Aunt Tammy. Because why not? So I guess what we need to do is kind of I guess what we need to do is kind of start at the beginning. So thank you to everybody who's been supporting the channel. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you to my members. You guys rock. Thank you to everybody who's going to hit the thumbs up button. Probably this video is not going to go out to members first, just because like I don't know what we're doing here, honestly. So I don't think it's worth I don't think it's worth it. I'm sorry, members. I'm sorry. I like to let you guys have good shots at the the good stuff, and I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I think what we should do, honestly, is talk about the Snowflake video. So, hang on. Okay, so let's start with Mr. Snowflake's interview with Emily. And the reason I do that is because it's a text interview. It's not a face-to-face interview. Now, I'm not going to read. Because A, my glasses don't want to stay on my face. And B, I think by this point, this video is 8 days old now. And today is August the 11th. By this point, everybody's seen this, read this, heard this from a million different reactors at this point. But the long and the short of it is, Emily reached out to Mr. Snowflake after apparently she and Amber had some kind of fight, and Emily decided to give Snowflake a tell-all. Now, there is, talk about how, there we go, this came to be, and, rumors be rumoring and all that good shit. But the long and the short of it is, Emily came to Snowflake and told Snowflake stories. I lost my train of thought. Told Snowflake stories about what it was like when Amber was in Wisconsin with her, and in general, kind of filled in some holes here and there, and basically told us things that we already knew. All right, let's be honest. And last time I reacted to this, I said we all have to take this with a grain of salt. We have to keep in mind that at this point, there's enough information about what it's like to date Amber on the internet that you could theoretically put together a story about I dated Amberlynn Reid, and you could put together a convincing story about it because there's enough information out there that you could convince the reaction community that you did indeed date Amberlynn Reid, right? So I was like, you should always take everything Emily says in general with a grain of salt, right? Now, the thing that does make Emily's story a bit more believable for me, and these are things that I didn't know at the time, is that Amber backs up certain aspects of Emily's stories. And this is something I did not know at the time when I reacted to this the first time. Amber went on the defensive. Apparently, Snowflake just put a notice out that he was going to drop a video where he was reacting or where he was interviewing Emily. He hadn't put the video out yet. And Amber preactively, yes, I'm losing words, made a live where she loses her shit and starts telling stories where she apparently thinks she's getting out ahead of the stories that she thinks Emily is going to tell. And some of those, she is correct. And those are the ones that Snowflake comes in and clips and uses clips from Amber's live to kind of emphasize the points that Emily was making during their text interview. Now, because Amber decided to do this, it lends credibility to Tommy's stories. Because, as I said in my first video, we now have 2 informants who are giving us information that the event occurred, right? We have 2 different accounts, but we have 2 informants that are telling us that this event did indeed occur. That's the important part, right? Regardless of which one of them is telling the truth, we know the event happened, right? But that does make the other things that Emily says a little bit more credible in that they happened, right? It doesn't make Emily more truthful, but it does make the events that Emily lays out more probable. Does that make sense? I know I say that a lot. I need that on merchandise. I need to make merchandise. It'll just be like little cups. Actually, keychains. We're just going to have keychains and stickers. That's all it's going to be. Anyway, so that's what came of the Snowflake interview. Is mostly Emily got on, basically made DV accusations towards Amber. Nobody's terribly surprised about it. Amber, this is something that we watched with, we being, the plural me, watched on Rachel's take on this. Amber tries to disprove Emily's story about being attacked and showing her arm with gouge marks from Amber's nails, which is another thing that we know Amber does because she's been accused of that by past partners, which is also another like little sneaky. It's hard to discuss this kind of stuff. The pinching and the digging in of the nails is one of those like abuse tactics that are used sometimes because it doesn't leave marks or not like big bruises and things like that, but it's still a physical abuse sign. It's hard to talk about this kind of stuff, but anyway, so Amber doing that kind of shit, it's just like she's like, oh, I never hit you. Right. That doesn't mean it's not physical abuse. Okay? It's just something that just creeps into my head every time she does that shit. It's like when she picks up the lamp and she's like, I didn't hit her, but I could throw this at you. And Rachel has a really good video over this, talking about Amber's language during this, which, again, Rachel studies rhetoric, and so her breakdown of Amber's language use is always fascinating. And I'll try to remember to link Rachel's video down below so that you guys can go listen to it because or watch it, because her taking apart Amber's language is very revealing and something worth talking about during this video that we're going to talk about. But the pinching is just something I just want people to be aware of, that it's a common abuse tactic when it comes to physical abuse, and it's always hard to talk about. Anyway, the point being, it's bullshit that Amber's like, aha, I caught her in a lie because, she sent me this picture and yada, yada, yada. And, but the pictures, Amber says, are dated wrong. To which Rachel actually goes in and shows the dates of the two pictures. Anyway, Rachel, I pulled up the video. Rachel points out that the dates on the pictures, that Amber tries to pull up and use as evidence that Emily is lying. This is not the same video. This is a different rant that Amber goes on. Rachel points out that the dates on the pictures that Amber is using to try to prove that Emily is lying. I'm going to do that a lot. Are actually disprove Amber's claims. And I want to play the little clip here. Again, I will link Rachel's video down below. So I wanted it to play. Play.
In fact, as she's speaking and she's going, this is a completely different day, you can see the date in the photo showing that no, it's exactly the same day. This is absolute proof that Amber is telling a lie. And
so not only is it the same day, it's like a few hours before the picture that Amber shows later. And the thing that I want to point out with the picture that Amber's showing, these are the two pictures side by side, right? This is the picture that Amber took. Am I insane? This is Amber in the reflection of the window here, I'm guessing. Did I miss something? I was kind of half listening at this point, I'm not going to lie. Amber took this picture? Amber was taking a picture of Tommy's arm to prove something? But anyway, this is the picture that Tommy sent Amber with the gouge marks, right? And this is the first picture. This is the second picture. This picture has a visible date. This picture will later have another visible date. And this is the timeline of the pictures. Anyway, I think I got a little off track there. My point is that Amber corroborates Tommy's story, and by trying to disprove Emily's story, Amber reinforces Emily's story, and even with the evidence that Amber is trying to use to disprove Emily's story, actually proves Emily's story. So, I think that was the kind of the point I was trying to get at here with how having two informants about the same events backs things up, and how incredibly bad Amber is at defending herself. I don't understand what Amber thought was happening here. Like, why she thought this was the gotcha moment that she clearly thinks it is. But here we are. All right, so I have several windows open for this. So this is the kind of the point of the Mr. Snowflake video, was listening to Emily tell us about how awful the relationship between Amber and her was, right? And yeah, I'm just kind of skipping through things, and it really doesn't give us a whole lot of new information. Really, the only new-ish information we get is about the whole Rarity thing and what leads up to the Rarity story. And it doesn't really help with the Rarity story. It just punches more holes into the whole Rarity story. And the only new thing that really comes out of this is Emily has a cat named Princess, and Amber kind of mentions the cat Princess in the story during all of this. And so these two screenshots that I just showed you, that I'm showing you guys right now, Amber is trying to get Emily to come home. Emily doesn't want to come home. Amber starts saying, "Oh my God, I can't find Rarity," kind of trying to get Emily to come home. Emily is not running home when Amber says she can't find Rarity. And so when that doesn't seem to work, Amber kind of drops, "Oh my God, Princess is out." And she doesn't seem to get any reaction whatsoever from Emily. And I was just kind of like, when I reacted to this the first time, I'm just kind of like, what were you going to do to the cat? Like, you've already done something to Rarity. What were you going to do to Princess? Like, were you just going to start chucking cats out until something happened? Like, what was your thought process here? But anyway, it just kind of shows, it really just kind of shows Amber's, the way Amber was thinking and the way Amber was trying to get Emily to react to her in the first place, and the way she was trying to get herself the ability to stay. I don't know if she let Rarity out in order to stay longer, or if she let Rarity out because she wanted Emily to come home, right? And Rarity being gone was just, you know, extra. I don't even know if she let the cat out. The cat's just gone. It doesn't mean the cat left. Like, where's the cat? Okay, we're just all assuming the cat got out of the house. What if the cat never left? Okay, and it's just kind of like, where's the cat? We're just all assuming the cat left, that the cat escaped out the door like Amber says, but why are we believing that, right? Anyway, so that's the Mr. Snowflake video. It clearly, just the idea of the video upset Amber enough that she made a reaction video to a video that hadn't even come out yet, which allowed Snowflake to clip it and put it in the video. I thought he had released the video once and then released it again with these clipped into it, and that is not what had happened, which really only makes Emily's side of the story not more truthful, but it does lend more strength to Emily's side of the story in that things happened, because Amber does kind of reinforce a lot of things before we even see the video. Now, a couple more things that Rachel talks about in... There we go. Actually, one of the more interesting things that Rachel kind of brought up, again, talking about the way Amber words things. Again, keeping in mind Rachel's specialty is in rhetoric. So something that Rachel was pointing out was the way Amber talked and how... Really, dude? What? I fed you. What do you need? Besides to absolutely disturb everything. Hi, I love you. Please don't. There's not space up here for you anymore. Come on. There we go. That's better. Thank you. Really appreciate it if you didn't take out the recording studio. That the way Amber words things kind of gives away the fact that Amber does things. So she points out that at one point, Emily says something like, here, she says, "I'm afraid to come home." And Amber says, "Don't be afraid. I'm not going to cause you any stress." And Rachel kind of points out that this is a strange thing to say if you aren't causing someone problems normally, right? If I'm not typically harassing my significant other to the point where they are terrified to come home, I don't need to assure them or reassure them that this time they can come home and I'm not going to bother them. They can just come home. They don't need to worry about it, right? It's not like there's some outside force that they're worried about coming home to. Emily was terrified of coming home to Amber, which kind of reinforces that Amber really was being the monster that Emily was claiming that she was. Because Amber's own words, the way that Amber worded this, reinforces that. There's another point where Amber kind of gives herself away, where she's talking about something to the effect of, I'll let you sleep, or something like that. And it kind of implies, because why would I have to assure you that I'm going to let you sleep if I normally let you sleep, right? So that little way of wording it reinforces that Emily saying that Amber would stand over her and keep her from sleeping. And that was normal behavior, because if it wasn't normal behavior, Amber wouldn't have to say something to the effect of, don't worry, I won't do that this time, right? Because I don't have to reassure you that I'm not going to do something unless it's something that I'm always doing, right? So that was a really interesting thing that Rachel was pointing out that I didn't catch. And that's why we watch other reactors. Everybody's bringing their own specialty to the table. So again, I think you guys should go watch that. I mean, I know everybody's watched like a million things about this at this point, and I'm not saying that like you should go watch this because like new and interesting, you know, details are going to pop out. I just think it's interesting watching somebody who has studied rhetoric break this shit down, because it's a whole different thought process. It's a whole different way of thinking and looking at things. And honestly, if I didn't want this video to be a million years long, I would sit here and watch the Occam Razors part with you, because that's really where Rachel sits down and really breaks down the rhetoric, the way Amber talks in the text messages and stuff. So, and even in Amber's lives, the way Amber puts things, because Rachel talks about the part where Amber says, I never hit anybody. And then she picks up the lamp and she says, I could throw this at your head, and not realizing that is hitting someone. And there's another point where Amber is recounting the argument that she and Emily supposedly had, that Amber is literally recounting how she chases Emily around the house, or follows Emily around the house to argue with Emily until Emily runs out the back door. And Rachel points out several things. One, Amber stops herself when she starts to say, and then we went back down into the kitchen, because Amber realizes if she says we went back down into the kitchen, that ruins Amber's story, because the back door is in the kitchen, so she would have been near the back door, so she would have seen the cat get out, which ruins Amber's story that she didn't see the cat leave. And also, it shows that Amber is hounding Emily to the point where Emily couldn't leave through her own front door. Amber was blocking the door. So this also goes into other accusations that Amber has had against her from other exes, where Amber will block the doorway or block her partners in so that they cannot get away from her, so that they have to argue with her, right? So that they have to have arguments with her. And I mean, it's entrapment. Entrapment's not the word I'm looking for, but it's holding people against their will. And it's I'm sorry, it's an abuse tactic. I know it's not physical abuse, but it is abuse. And I know Amber doesn't like hearing that, but that's why you go to therapy. Therapy will help with this. It will help you, Amber. It will help you with this. This is not other people's problems. This is your problem. But it is interesting just listening to Rachel kind of point out all of the ways that Amber tells on herself, but by her own words. It's not even her actions. It's not even her body language, which I do enjoy breaking down. But I mean, there's only so many times where I can point out to you guys that she's off in her little making shit up zone, right? We know what that looks like at this point. But now that we've got Rachel in here, like pointing out the language use, it really does get more interesting. All right, so that's the Mr. Snowflake interview, basically in a nutshell. So that was that. At the end of the Snowflake interview, Snowflake kind of points out that there is another potential interview with Emily coming. Now, this was, again, 8 days ago that this video came out. It's been a long 8 days. All right. I think my video version of this was Mr. Snowflake ruins my weekend, because it always happens on my weekends. Stop it. Anyway, since this, Amber has gone live several times, crying each time, because, you know, people are demanding more and more information about what really happened to Rarity, and Amber is less and less likely to give it to us because Amber is adamant that that she didn't do anything wrong, and that Rarity just explored too hard. And now the news story is that she didn't let the cat out. Emily let the cat out when Emily ran out the door and didn't close the door, and then Amber wasn't anywhere near the back door, even though she's always sitting in that chair that's right next to the back door. Like, that's where you always sit. So why was this time different? Like, why were you breaking your patterns this time? That's another thing that Rachel points out. Like, why this day? Why was this the day that you broke all of your patterns? Right? I mean, maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe the fact that you broke all of your patterns is the reason the cat got out. That could be. But why? Why that day? Anyway, we've not seen a follow-up interview from Emily. Now, other things have been floating around. I don't know if they've been verified. I don't go to the places where these things might be verified at. But there have been accusations that Emily and Amber are back together. Now, in all fairness, there's always an accusation that Emily and Amber are back together. And here's the thing. Amber says in her little breakdown video that her and Emily had been together this entire time until 3 days prior to that breakdown video, which would have been 8-ish days ago. So 8 plus 3 is what, 12? Something. I don't know. I don't do math. I don't know about that, to be perfectly honest with you guys, because we know that Amber doesn't let her exes go. She loves to hold her exes hostage. This was a long distance relationship. Okay. So we know from Emily's own story that Emily basically drove Amber's ass back to Oklahoma, dropped her off, and then basically flew back home. So she basically pulled a wifey, right? Drove Amber to Oklahoma, got the hell out. Now, Amber, I personally think that Amber may think that the two of them have been in a relationship this whole time because Amber won't let it go, right? I think Amber is more than capable of convincing herself. What are we doing? Okay. I think Amber is more than capable of convincing herself that the two of them are in a relationship. And so in Amber's head, they have been together this whole time. I don't know if Emily has seen it that way. I think Emily may take advantage of the fact that Amber sees them as being in a relationship because Emily has certain tastes and Amber fills those tastes. And I could totally see Emily taking advantage of Amber and Amber's clear desperation to be desired and to be wanted. What are we doing? Okay. So I wouldn't call that a relationship. And I don't think Emily did either. Right? So in Amber's head, maybe they were in a relationship. But in reality, I don't think they were. That's my personal take on the situation. So when Amber says, we've been together up until 3 days ago, I don't think that's true. I think Amber thinks it's true, or Amber wishes it was true. But I don't think it's true. And I also don't think they're getting back together. I think Emily's more than happy to use Amber and more than happy to let Amber think they're getting back together, but I don't think they're actually getting back together. So there's that. There is my take on that. Now, all right. Now, there's the whole Emily saga. I've already reacted to this video, okay? And I just kind of wanted to throw in a little bit extra because the Rachel video really kind of brought things out for me. And you know how I am about these things. I think we should have more discussions around around each other's reaction channels because, again, we all contribute things to these things. But Aunt Tammy. Hi, Aunt Tammy. I wasn't around. All right, no, that's not true. I wasn't paying attention the last time Aunt Tammy popped off. Also, Aunt Tammy popped off on the farms, which I don't go on the farms. So last time Aunt Tammy was around showing her ass, I wasn't here for it. But this time, I don't know what sets Aunt Tammy off. I don't know. I don't know. But this time, Aunt Tammy reached out to, I'm guessing, many people, but Jordy is the one that, once again, got the interview. Apparently, Aunt Tammy was threatening to go to Mr. Snowflake, and then ended up with Jordy. I don't know. I don't care what the sequence of events was there. Maybe Snowflake was like, nah, it's a bit too much drama for me. I don't know. Maybe he was still trying to like recover from the Emily bullshit. I don't know. Bye. Excellent. But we've now had two nights of interviews with Aunt Tammy on Jordy's channel. The first night was probably the most entertaining, honestly, because Amber decided that she was going to, and yes, I picked this picture on purpose. Amber decided that she was going to live react to Jordy interviewing Tammy. She was basically, is it called sniping? I have been told that it is not stream sniping when you are reacting to another reactor while they are live. When you live reacting to a reactor while they're... I've been told that is not what stream sniping is. So someone fill me in on what the actual terminology there is, because I was told that that's not what that is. That Foodie just started using the wrong term, and now we all use it because we don't know any better. Let me know in the comments section down below. Anyway, I'm just going to say, Amber started stream sniping Jordy while Jordy was interviewing Aunt Tammy. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with this because that was Aunt Tammy. That's Amber's aunt. So I think if there was ever a warranted one, that was probably it. Also, it was damn entertaining. Look, I don't really know much about Aunt Tammy. I know she's Amber's mother's sister. And I know that lore-wise, Aunt Tammy kicked Amber out at some point. Yeah. So there's that. And I know that that Aunt Tammy and Amber have bad blood. And that at one point, Amber was claiming that Aunt Tammy didn't like Amber because Amber was fat. And that was pretty much everything I knew about Aunt Tammy. So, because really, she didn't really talk about Aunt Tammy too much, honestly. And I know that, like, people would talk about Aunt Tammy occasionally, and every now and then you'd hear something like, oh, Aunt Tammy's saying something online, kind of a thing, right? This interview, or these two interviews that Jordy has done with Aunt Tammy, are just like, this woman, my God, what the fuck? I completely understand why Amber would genuinely be upset about this, okay? Watching Amber react to Aunt Tammy is both cathartic, yeah, and incredibly entertaining. It must be a hell of a thing for Amber to react to somebody who is effectively a carbon copy of them. Aunt Tammy is the 50, the 60-year-old version of Amber. They are the same fucking person. Okay? I'm just gonna put it out there. Listening to that woman talk to Jordy was just so revealing. It really was. And I think Amber was actually upset about Aunt Tammy talking, and especially about the things that Aunt Tammy was talking about. But listening to Aunt Tammy talk, listening to the topics that Aunt Tammy chose to talk about, and the way Tammy chose to talk about those things, it's like listening to Amber when Amber decides to go on one of her weird kicks where she tries to like not shame her family members, or when she'd go in on one of her ex-girlfriends, especially when she likes to go in on Beck. It's like listening to Amber. And I'm not even like, oh, their voices sound the same. The way they talk is identical. The way they like to shame and slam and bring up like stupid details about people in a way that they're trying to like down talk and neg the people around them to make themselves look better. Like, it is the same goddamn person. It's just one of them's named Tammy and is straight, and the other one's named Amber and is gay, and that's the only fucking difference. Right? Really, that's the only difference. And the first night was probably the most entertaining, only because like it was new, right? Aunt Tammy didn't say anything we didn't know, and I'm getting the feeling that Aunt Tammy didn't say anything that she hasn't said on other platforms. This is just, I guess, the first time she's been online saying things out loud with her mouth, I guess. So I'm getting the drift that that's like that's the only new part about this. Watching Amber watch Tammy be interviewed by Jordy was very eye-opening, honestly. I do not feel bad for Amber. Don't take this as that. I mean, I feel sympathy, empathy. I'm trying to figure out which one of those is the one I feel. I can understand why Amber is upset that her aunt would get online and do this, but also I understand that more Amber's upset because of the loss of control of the narrative around herself. But one would have to argue if Amber ever had control of the narrative around herself. But Amber has this idea of loyalty that I don't know why she has it, but like literally no one around her really demonstrates that except for her girlfriends and her mom to some degree. But like this whole family, I did not realize the entire family had some kind of addiction problem, but apparently they all do. And that's honestly not that surprising. But it having that like really brought to the forefront cleared up a lot of shit. And it sounds like certain members of the family have done more to handle that issue than others. Clearly, some of them have tried harder than others. Aunt Tammy does not fall into that category. I'm sorry. No well-adjusted fucking individual goes on the fucking internet onto... nothing against Jordy, but nobody does that. Okay? Like, nobody. I don't give a shit what Tammy said. I'm doing this because I care. No, you don't. Nobody does that. At what point, at any point, is this helping anyone? It's not helping anyone. Like, you have to be fucking delusional to believe that this is helping. No. It's helping Jordy's ratings. Good for Jordy. I mean, like, props to Jordy. I'm not mad at him at all, but, like, woman, no. Anyway. And yeah, I get Amber's anger and Amber's frustration and Amber's hurt feelings and all of that. I understand why Amber has those emotions, because she clearly has those emotions. But like, the thing is like the way Aunt Tammy was treating Amber and the way Aunt Tammy was talking about Amber's past is very, very similar to the way Amber has treated and talked about her exes on the online. Like literally all of them, especially the ones that she thinks won't be able to fight back. Casey comes to mind here, right? And Amber still doubles down on shit she's said about Casey because she doesn't think Casey will hear it or fight back. And when Casey occasionally does, Amber gets way butthurt about it, right? And her recent like punching bag has been Beck. And Amber just routinely goes in on Beck. Can't not. I think even during this goddamn thing with Tammy, Amber finds some way to bring Beck up. I don't remember exactly what, but I think I remember her saying something about Beck, and I'm just like, really? Even now? Like, she can't not talk about Beck. But it's that kind of a thing. And it's just like watching Amber receive the same treatment from her Aunt Tammy that she gives to her exes or anybody she doesn't like. Like, she talked about Alexis this way. She's talked about the Valentine couple this way. So when she was really, really mad at Emily, she talked about Emily this way. So Amber has the exact same behavior online that Tammy was showing and showed both nights. The second night, which was I think last night. Yes. Yeah, I was here for that one. Amber was a little bit more calm. Something about heart palpitations and she was scared. Sure. That is also an Amber thing, as she falls back on, oh my health. So Amber's having heart palpitations, and so now she has to stay calm because that scares her. But the second night with Aunt Tammy, I don't care. It was basically Aunt Tammy just saying the same shit she said the first night, plus we got to hear the story about how she left her husband. And I mean, cool. I left her ex-husband and met her second husband. I don't care. I really don't. But we all now know that story. So thanks. My life is improved. And once again, Jordy got that story. Cool. How does he do this? Like, does he have a 1-800 number out there? Like, how did Jerry Springer do it? Because like, I imagine that's how like Jordy does it. Anyway. So 2 nights in a row, Jordy's had Aunt Tammy on. No, it's not in a row. Anyway, Jordy has had Aunt Tammy on twice now. I don't know if she's going to be a reoccurring character. God, to be honest with you, though, like, she's kind of a one-trick pony. Like, as Amber was pointing out, though, like, Aunt Tammy doesn't really know a whole lot about Amber's childhood because I guess Aunt Tammy wasn't around for most of it. And they didn't really get along for large portions of Amber's life. So Aunt Tammy's just kind of like filling in blanks with whatever she can come up with. At least it seems that way. Or she just like falls back on really old information that may or may not be accurate. You know, be that as it may. And that's the other thing here. Aunt Tammy seems to be just an older version of Amberlynn, so can we trust what she's saying? If Amber's lips are moving, she's probably lying or making something up or getting ready to lie. So are we sure Aunt Tammy's not doing the same thing? The only things that I can verify, the only things I can believe that are true from Aunt Tammy are the things that, once again, Amber herself back up. So we go back to this whole having the 2 informants, you know, our primary informant being Aunt Tammy, because she's our primary. She's the one that's starting all of these stories, much like Emily was when she went to Snowflake, right? But then we have Amber, who is backing these stories up by saying, oh, yes, here, let me give you my side of the story. Well, there wouldn't be an Amber side to the story if the event hadn't occurred, right? So those are the only things that I can believe when Aunt Tammy talks, because Amber's verifying those for me. She's backing that up. I am less inclined to believe Aunt Tammy than I am to believe Emily, who am also not that inclined to believe, to be perfectly frank with you. But I am less inclined when it comes to Aunt Tammy because her behavior, her patterns of speech, I can't see the woman, but I would be willing to bet if I could, her body language would probably be fairly similar to Amber's. She is just so similar to Amber just from these two live streams that she's done, which were roughly like 5 hours to put together, both of them. She is just so similar to Amber that like I would not trust her the same way I do not trust Amber. So the only things I trust about Tammy are the things that Amber helped verify, right? Because I've got, again, 2 informants telling me that the same event occurred. So now I've just got 2 people's sides of the same story, right? And that's good. That, again, means the event happened. So that's what's been happening with the Tammy stories. I don't particularly think, honestly, I don't really feel like Tammy's like dropped any bombshells or anything like that. Really the only things that Tammy really accomplished over the last 2 nights has been to upset Amber, and that's pretty much it. She's really just kind of upset Amber to the point where she's definitely rocked Amber's boat for what it's worth. I don't really know what Tammy thinks she's accomplishing. I mean, if she's really truly trying to help, I'm not entirely sure what she thinks that this is helping. Somebody was pointing out, I think it was one of my mods was pointing out that like maybe Aunt Tammy is upset because that Aunt Tammy might be perceiving Amber as threatening Mama Lynn's sobriety. Fair. And that this is Aunt Tammy way overreacting to that. Also fair. But again, this is way overreacting and also not even remotely helpful. So, but it is clear to me that Aunt Tammy is maybe not the most logical thinker. So maybe in Aunt Tammy's head somehow this is helpful. I don't know. It's not like she contacted Dr. Phil. Again, no shade to Jordy, but he's not exactly like a family therapist. He's just a guy on the internet. So I don't really know what she thought she was doing here by doing this. You know, I don't know. Again, no shade towards Jordy whatsoever. This really isn't. It's really not. I'm just stunned. How does he do this? But anyway, Tammy's just another really interesting. Tammy's just another very colorful character in the Amberverse. We've been asking for side characters for a while now. Maybe that's what Tammy thinks she's doing by helping. Maybe she thinks she's being a helpful side character. I don't know. But she's definitely spicing things up a little bit by just being outrageous. Again, nothing. We're not learning anything new. But she is definitely ruffling feathers. She definitely shocked Amber the first night. And the second night, Amber was a little bit more in control of herself than she was. So I think, honestly, if Tammy goes forward and keeps doing this, I think the shock value is going to keep wearing off. Amber did, at the end of the second night, reach out to Tammy and sent Tammy some messages on her Facebook. I don't remember. It was weird. You guys think I'm a Luddite. Amber makes me look like a genius when it comes to like technology. Anyway, so Amber sent Tammy some messages, and Amber said that Tammy had responded, but she had to end the stream in order to check the messages because she was streaming on her phone. Somebody pointed out, though, if Amber can't receive messages or calls or something while she's streaming on her phone, how did she receive the call from Mama Lynn the other day when she was, the first night when she was streaming? and Mama Lynn called, and Amber was like, hey, I'm live streaming, just letting you know. And Mama Lynn was like, oh. So how did she receive that call if she can't receive messages and calls while she's streaming? So I don't know the answer to that question. And then to round out the evening, we have to talk about Quirky, because Quirky is inserting herself into girl world again. Her and Amber are BFFs. Look, I don't care that Quirky and Amber are friends or that they're talking or whatever. I don't care. I really don't. I just, as usual, Quirky is constantly saying she doesn't want to be part of girl world. She doesn't want to be part of it. She doesn't want to be associated with it. She really wishes we wouldn't lump her in with the rest of girl world. And then she immediately ends a live stream and jumps into Amber's live stream, right? She's calling Amber on Instagram. She's Amber's new, like, emotional support BFF or whatever. And, like, she, at the end of the second Tammy live, Amber, I don't exactly know what was going on. Amber wanted to, like, test call somebody. And so she's like, hey, Quirky, can I call you real quick? And so she calls, I think she used Instagram. I'm not entirely sure. So she calls Quirky on live. And I guess she's just testing shit. And Quirky's like, oh my God. And it was a little fangirly, and it was kind of weird. And it's just like, what was the point? Like, I get that the two of you are, like, doing the friend thing, but, like, why? You could have done that off camera. So the only reason why Amber did that was basically to kind of flaunt that her and Quirky were talking. And here's something that I'm noticing watching more of Quirky's lives is that Quirky falls into these traps really easily, in that other creators seem to be other creators seem to be able to manipulate Rosie fairly easily without Rosie realizing it. And I think that's a little bit of a trap for Rosie, because I don't feel like Rosie sees the red flag until after it's, like, fallen over her head, right? She was interviewing some guy, I don't know who the hell he was, honestly, but it was a whole thing. And I do plan on doing a reaction, or at least talking about it, because it was like a masterclass in manipulation. It was fucking terrifying watching it happen in real life. And it was, at the same time, absolutely fascinating to watch, because this guy was just playing her like a fine-tuned instrument, and she was just eating it up, and she wouldn't listen to anybody, like literally anyone who was trying to warn her to not interact with this guy and not to talk with this guy. And he just managed to keep her distracted and keep her attention focused on him long enough, to the point where it took one of her mods basically quitting for her to finally realize that this was serious and she needed to not be talking to this guy. Like, that was a major issue. And here we are again with Amber. And you guys, I really can't stress to you guys enough about how good of a manipulator Amber can be, right? And this whole, hey, Quirky, can I call you real quick? I mean, yeah, okay, I get that you want to test something, right? But you didn't need to call Quirky online. You didn't need to call Quirky live, right? And then when you did call Quirky, you basically apparently just wanted to see if you could. Like, you just wanted to see if you could use whatever it was, to use it as voice, like a phone call, right? So really, Amber just wanted to be like, okay, cool, and then hang up on her. And Quirky kept trying to keep the conversation going. And when Amber was finally like, okay, I gotta go, you could hear the disappointment in Quirky's voice, because I guess Quirky thought she was going to be on the call longer. And that's kind of my point. Like, Amber could sit there and bitch about Tammy and how Tammy turns everybody's joy into her own joy, and Tammy's always using other people and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, girl, there's a mirror right there. You need to go look in it, like, real deep. Because Amber does the exact same shit. And she did it to Quirky live. Right? And this is what I'm talking about. I'm sure Quirky didn't catch that, right? Amber just wanted to test something, and she knew that Quirky would eat up being Amber's call girl, right? Amber didn't need to do that on live. Amber didn't need to call Quirky. She could have called anybody else. Amber didn't need to test it. Amber knew that that worked. What was the whole point of that, right? It was just basically to flex, and Quirky fell for it, right? So that was the only other really interesting thing that happened during the second Tammy live stream, which had and that thing had nothing to do with Tammy, really. It was just Amber interacting with Quirky, who is more and more and more and more trying to insert herself into girl world, even though she's not part of girl world, you guys. But here's the thing. If you're not part of girl world, then get the fuck out. I mean, because the more you keep shoving yourself in the girl world, the more people are going to keep reacting to you. The more people are going to keep calling you out. And the other thing is Quirky keeps getting called out by these smaller channels, which I know Quirky, for whatever reason, doesn't think small channels matter. And that's where she really starts making mistakes, because the small channels are the ones that seem to do the deepest dives into her until the big channels start picking up on it. And the big channels pick up on it because the smaller channels point out things. And like right now, Quirky's got a channel that's kind of up her ass about how she won't age restrict her streams. And Quirky keeps giving all these excuses about why she won't age restrict her streams, and this other channel keeps pointing out, no, that's bullshit, no, that's bullshit, no, that's bullshit. It's only going to take a little bit more time and a little bit more pushing by this small channel before one of the larger channels picks up on it. Like, do you really want Omegon making another video about you? Is that really what you want? Because it's only going to take a little bit more pushing before Omegon does it again. Because Omegon really doesn't like it when you go after kids. I just pointed it out there, right? And right now, I mean, man's got plenty of time. Saying. Booty's a little MIA right now. Got some downtime. Well, that's pretty much it. So I just kind of wanted to get all of that shit laid out. I don't really want to react to Amber's lives because they're long, and and I talk a lot. The only thing I can think of doing, and you guys would have to let me know down below if you really want me to do this, because I know some of you really like when I react to other reactors and some of you really don't. But the only thing I can think of doing with Amber's lives is waiting for Salty to do her breakdowns of them and then react to Salty's reactions, because I like Salty's reaction or Salty's breakdowns of Amber's lives if Salty's still doing them. I don't know if Salty's going to keep doing them now that Amber's lives are open to the public, but that would be how I would probably do the Amber lives, is if someone else were to go in and chop them down. But I don't know how much longer we're going to be in this live era again. I don't know, the last one lasted quite a while. So here we are. Because I remember having this issue last time when she threatened to do live era again, and I was just like, I don't know if I can do live era. That's a lot to react to. So there's that. But anyway, all right. So let me know down below if you want me to react to Amber's lives through another reactor, like Salty Crab. I know she really hates Salty Crab, which would also be the other reason why I would love doing that, because she, for whatever reason, really hates Salty. And I like Salty, so I also like Crab, so it's a win-win for me. So there's that. And I think at this point we've kind of talked the Emily stuff to death for the time being. We've pretty much talked the rarity stuff to, I don't really like saying to death, but you know, you get my drift. And now we just have Tammy. We have Tammy to run herself down now, and then God only knows what we're gonna do from there, because Amber doesn't really have a whole lot going on. So I guess thanks, Tammy. Thanks, Aunt Tammy. Cool. Yay. But that's the Amberverse right now. All right. I can't really do any more of my Am Baby reactions because there's nothing to react to, which is sad because I really liked my Am Baby intro. I thought that was kind of fun, but we'll never see that again, probably. To make a new one, I guess. So there's that. And that's all I've got for you guys. So let me know what you guys think down below. Please use timestamps when you're commenting on something, because I promise you I will forget whatever the hell we're talking about. And that's all I really got for you guys. So thank you to everybody who's been supporting the channel. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you to my members. You guys rock. Thank you to everybody who's going to hit the thumbs up button. Like I said, these usually go out to members first, but I just, this one is, it just needs to go out, you guys. But normally members get videos first, so forgive me on this one. Yeah, so there's that. And I think, unfortunately, I think this might be, we might have a little bit of an Amber hiatus unless something happens, which I don't see happen. You know, I say that. Okay, shit won't happen until this weekend because I'll be out for the weekend like I normally am. And then everything will happen this weekend. So I guess I probably won't do another Amber video until next week. So until then, I will see everybody then. I guess your emoji will be a door. There's got to be a door emoji. So go ahead and have your emoji be a door. Yeah, and that's all I've got for you guys. So I will see everybody in the next one. Bye!
This is my outro music. You can't copyright strike me because it's just me singing. This is my outro music. Thank you for watching. See you next time.